Eastern, 5 Pacific on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Coming up, a community prepares to say goodbye to a state trooper that was killed in the line of duty.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. As a community prepares to pay final respects to Sergeant Corey Maynard, the state trooper who lost his life in the line of duty in Mingo County, West Virginia Friday night, family members are finding solace knowing Maynard will continue to help others even after his death. Maynard was a tissue donor. Andrew Colgrove reports on how the hero's legacy will continue to live on.
Loved ones, fellow troopers, those who live in the community where Sergeant Corey Maynard gave his life, heartbroken the trooper's future was robbed of him.
A part of their loved one lives on.
Maynard was a tissue donor. Parts of his body can go toward healing, up to 75 people in need.
When someone is able to become a donor, it means so much to their family.
Cheryl King is the West Virginia Community Outreach Coordinator with the Center for Organ Recovery and Education. She says it's a tremendous comfort to the family that Maynard will continue to help others even after his passing.
It gives them such comfort, and it also gives them hope.
A written statement from Maynard's family says, in life, Corey was a wonderful dad and proudly and courageously served the state of West Virginia as a state trooper. Now, in death, he has continued that heroic legacy, making a far greater contribution to this world than most of us could ever hope to ourselves. As a tissue donor, he will save and heal the lives of many others. While we miss him every day, we also find comfort and strength in knowing that he lives on. The family also says it would mean so much if Maynard's legacy encourages even more people to follow his example and sign up to become organ donors themselves, continuing to make a positive impact long after final respects have been paid. Andrew Colgrove, WSAZ News Channel 3.
The tributes to Sergeant Corey Maynard are extending to the baseball diamond. The Charleston Dirty Birds honored the fallen trooper with a moment of silence before tonight's game at Go-Mart Ballpark. Troopers from the Williamson Detachment, where Sergeant Maynard had been serving at the time of his death, and troopers from Troop 5 took Maynard's son to tonight's game. West Virginia State Troopers got into tonight's game for free by showing their badge. And we want to remind you about the arrangements for Sergeant Maynard, who spent time growing up in Pike County. His service will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. at Mingo Central High School. A visitation will be held beforehand, beginning at noon, up to the time of the celebration of life. The procession will leave Mingo Central High School and travel on to King Cole Highway, Route 65 and 52 and 119 North, and it will end in Chapmanville, West Virginia. We'll, of course, have coverage in our newscast tomorrow evening. The man accused of killing Sergeant Maynard was in court this morning. The Mingo County Circuit Clerk's Office says Timothy Kennedy's attorney entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Kennedy is accused of shooting and killing Sergeant Maynard last Friday along Beach Creek Road in Mingo County. Kennedy was denied bond.
Weather-wise, a calm evening, but a lot of folks coughing out there. No, it's not your allergies. It's that Canadian wildfire smoke that's been in place. The good news, we should start to push some of that on out of here as we head through the next few days. Here's the view of the fountain. Downtown Somerset at this hour, mid-60s there. Rain not falling quite yet. We were warm in parts of the region. How about 80 Jackson, 79 Hazard, 84 in London. Also 84 in Monticello, though we did spend much of the afternoon there at 85. Middle and upper 60s at this hour at many spots. Even a few low 70s still sneaking in. We're dry in the mountains, but you don't have to look far north. Moving into the Moorhead area right now and up toward the Queen City, where that was a factor, I think, toward the end of tonight's Cincinnati Reds game that Nate Johnson will talk more about a little bit later on. Your forecast first as we head into the morning. It's looking soggy for that commute. Low 60s with showers in place. Details on when the showers move out and a beautiful days follow in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. A grand jury indicted a Powell County murder suspect. Devin Hall was indicted on May 22nd for murder and several other charges. He was arrested in April following the stabbing and death of 29-year-old Jason Smith. Hall told us from jail he just snapped when he saw his ex-girlfriend and Smith pull into his driveway ahead of him. He'll be back in court tomorrow. A Southern Kentucky man is facing charges in connection to a robbery. Laurel County deputies say Timothy Garland II robbed a business in April. They say he stole money while armed with a screwdriver. During the robbery, deputies say he got into a fight with two people at the business before taking off. Deputies found him yesterday. They recovered the stolen items. Garland is charged with robbery and assault. First responders in Pikeville took part in training exercises earlier today aimed to protect the community they serve. Police, fire, EMS, and dispatch worked together and treated each scenario as a real situation, even blocking some streets and using volunteers as victims or offenders. Officer Tony Kahn of the Pikeville Police Department says the feedback is necessary to better protect and serve the community they call home.
We're doing what we need to do. We're going in. And the instructors are here to show us what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right, just to hone our skills. And this is the best critique you could ever have by people that's what they do for a living, is train police officers.
Training scenarios ranged from emergency home entries and active fires in residential areas to active shooter situations at a local high school. If the COVID-19 pandemic has kept your family away from the doctor's office, now might be a good time to check and make sure your kid is up to date on all routine vaccines. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, a report from the CDC says that rates for some pediatric vaccines dropped more than 60% in 2020, and pediatricians here in Eastern Kentucky say they are still seeing the effects from that 3 years later.
It certainly could be, afraid of going to the doctor, right? You don't want to be around the people that might have had COVID at that point. Probably somewhat of a habit, right? If you miss a couple visits, it's definitely easier to then miss the later ones.
Burke says now is a good time to call your kid's pediatrician and find out what they're behind on so they can get caught up before school starts back in the fall. The Human Rights Campaign issued a national state of emergency for the LGBTQ+ community. They are America's largest LGBTQ+ civil rights organization. They say this is in response to the nation's numerous anti-LGBTQ+ bills that were passed in the U.S. this year. That includes Senate Bill 150 that bans transgender health care among minors here in Kentucky. Today, the Kentucky Blood Center hosted a blood drive just outside our studios here at WYMT. It was a way to encourage more people to donate blood, especially this time of year. Phlebotomist Kyle Porter talked about the importance of community members donating.
Of course, there's always a constant need for blood just because we're only really meeting the quota. So we're always out trying to get blood every single day as much as we can, because if we're not out here, then there's going to be shortages and people who need it, the next day will not have it.
Porter says it's also important to have a local option so people know their blood is going to stay in Kentucky. At least 15 people donated today in a short amount of time, and we want to thank everyone who stopped by. App Harvest is in jeopardy of losing one of its largest facilities. The Kentucky-based agrotech business is facing a foreclosure on its Richmond greenhouse. A credit lender says App Harvest owes $66 million plus interest. A statement from App Harvest says they believe they are in full compliance with the loan. The new Tech Center in Martin County aims to celebrate and cultivate trade workers. The Trade College opened its doors last week, preparing to welcome its inaugural class next month with career pathway plans to provide hands-on training in plumbing, electrical, heavy equipment operating, and industrial mechanics. But the devotion to creating an employable public does not stop with the one-year program. Once the national certification is awarded, educators hope to help with the transition into the workforce.
The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is the employer fair that we plan to do just before students graduate so that we can connect them with real-time employers and hopefully have them a job before they ever leave the center.
Last week's ribbon cutting allowed visitors to check out the space, its simulators, and some hands-on workspaces. A new project that offers sheep more than 3,000 acres of reclaimed strip mine land in Perry County was just announced. WYMT's RJ Johnson explains how sheep could become a bigger part of Eastern Kentucky's future.
Officials from the Southeast Kentucky Sheep Producers Association have come together to convert reclaimed strip mines into farmland. Vice President Lester Brashear says they hope this project helps with invasive species at some of these sites.
We got together to start this, to prove this concept that sheep could be raised on strip jobs and could help the land clean up the invasive species, bring more economy back to East Kentucky, and a natural food source for the people here.
However, Brashear says this is not the only goal for the project, saying he would like students to get involved.
If we could get more people, younger people, interested in agriculture on this land, more of our children maybe could stay and not leave East Kentucky.
SEXPA President Patrick Angel says in order to get younger people involved, they are partnering with the UK Extension Service, which houses programs such as the 4-H program.
We have given away about 25 bred ewes, female sheep that are going to have baby lambs to 4-H students, FFA students, and ag class students, and it's a free deal for any kid who wants to learn how to raise sheep and profit from it too.
And he says they want this project to have a big economic impact on the region.
Our goals for this particular project is to grow the sheep industry in Eastern Kentucky and improve the genetics of the sheep that are here in such a way where it can be an economic driver for the people of the mountains.
With big goals, Angel and Brashear say they are working together for a better Kentucky. In Perry County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Angel says approximately 2,000 sheep are involved in the new project. We have a link for more information about it on our website. Many teachers play a big role in the lives of their students, but one teacher in Perry County played such a role that he received a special honor. Earlier today, James Eversole, a college career navigator from Buckhorn, was recognized as the Cedar Incorporated Teacher of the Year for his achievements in the Future of Work in Appalachia Study Unit program. Eversole says while he's excited to receive this award, it is not about him.
It's about the kids. I don't try to make this about myself or it's about my kids and my community. We're a community school at Buckhorn.
Eversole says the Cedar organization has allowed him to challenge himself to push the kids to be better students, and the award is very validating, but it was never the goal. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, an Appalachian media and arts nonprofit makes a temporary move